Hi, my name is Ruth, and welcome to this tutorial on 7th chords. The 7th chord is created by adding another note to an already existing triad. It gets its name because the additional note is a 7th interval above the root note of the chord. I'm going to give you an example. Starting on C major, if we have our C major triad, and we add the 7th interval, which is 7th from C, so that's B, then we have 4 notes, including the interval of a 7th. So that's our 7th chord. As you can see, there's the interval there, and that's why it's named the 7th chord. 7th chords create a more complex type of harmony within the chord, as well as making the chord more distinct. The major 7th chord is built up from the root note of the chord. In C, we have the C major triad, as I've just explained, and the 7th on top creates the major 7th interval with the root note. The notes in C major are C, E, G, and B. The C is the root note, the E is the major third, the G is the perfect fifth, and the B is the major 7th. 7th chords, like triads, can be major or minor. For now, think about the 7th chords that appear in the key of C major. Within all these 7th chords that appear in the key of C major, I've just played the same chord structure with the same fingers, but going up a white key each time. So it all uses all white keys. Within those chords, we have 4 main types of 7th chords, and this is what we're going to learn in this lesson. For starters, though, we're going to learn the fingering for playing 7th chords. With our right hand, we normally play with the 1, 2, 3, and 5 finger. Or alternatively, instead of using a 3, you can use a 4 if that's more comfortable for you. In our left hand, we use the 5, 3, 2, and 1 finger. And it's the same in the right hand. If the 4th finger is more comfortable for you than the 3rd, then that's also accepted. Familiarise yourself with 7th chords by playing through the 7th chords of notes in C major. So as I did before, think of the C major scale and start the 7th chord on each note of that scale. And you can keep going all up and down the keyboard if you like. It's quite a stretch to play 7th chords at first, but don't worry if you have to go quite slow to start with. The next 7th chord we're going to learn is the dominant chord. The dominant chord is when a minor 7th interval is added to a major chord. So there's our major chord, and then we're adding an interval of a minor 7th from the root, which is B flat. So that's a dominant 7th chord there. The dominant chord is normally built on the 5th note of the scale. This is because its purpose is to lead down an interval of a 5th, so it moves from the 5 chord to the 1 chord. So if we do this example in the key of C major, our 1 chord is C major, our 5 chord, the dominant chord, is G dominant 7. So that's our G major with the minor 7th added on top. The notes in G dominant 7 are G is the root, B is the major third, D is the perfect fifth, and F is the minor 7th. If you look back on our lesson on how to do intervals, you will find the exact way to count a minor 7th interval in terms of half steps. So if we count up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 half steps equals a minor 7th. So if you get stuck, that's a good way to work out a dominant 7th chord. So I'll demonstrate the dominant chord moving down 5th. So we go from G dominant 7th down to C major. See how it sounds natural? Or if we do an inversion, it sounds even better. So it's a G dominant 7 and a second inversion of C major. So that's how a dominant 7th works. The next 7th chord we're going to learn is the minor 7th chord. Minor 7th chords are easy once you understand dominant 7th chords. Basically, a minor 7th chord is a dominant 7th chord, but with the addition of a flattened third note. So, to get a minor 7th chord, take the major 7th chord. So if we take a C major 7, we flattened the 7th note, which makes it a dominant 7th, and then we flatten the third note as well, which makes that a minor 7th. Here's an example in C minor 7, the chord is C minor 7, as you can see, and it's made up of C, E flat, G, and B flat. C is the root note, E flat is the minor third, G is the perfect fifth, and B flat is the minor 7th. So if you ever have to start one of these chords from a different point on the keyboard, like if you had to make a minor 7th chord from, say, A, you can use your knowledge of intervals from the Song Pond Beginner Lesson series that you will have done to get to this tutorial by counting up each interval. So we know that we need a minor third for the third thing. So we're going to count up 3 half steps. 1, 2, 3. So that's our first and third chord tones. And then to get to our 5th chord tone, we're going to count up another 4 half steps, which is 7 in total from the bottom. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's our minor triad, and then we're going to count up another 3 half steps to get our minor 7th. So that's our minor 7th chord there. So you can do that from any point on the keyboard. The last 7th chord we're going to learn here is the minor 7 flat 5 chord. This is the last 7th chord you'll learn in this tutorial. With the addition of this chord, you'll have the vocabulary you need to cover the 7th chords in any major key. As I talked about before, when I was doing the scale of C major, but playing 7th chords, explain that within those 7th chords in the scale, there were 4 different types of 7th chords. There was the major 7th chord, the dominant 7th chord, the minor 7th chord, and the minor 7 flat 5 chord, which we're going to learn now. The minor 7 flat 5 chord consists of a minor 7th chord, which we've just learned, but with a flattened 5th chord tone as well. It is made up of a root, a flat third, a flat 5, and a flat 7. The minor 7 flat 5 chord sounds quite unusual, as you can hear, and it may take a while to get used to how they actually sound, but they certainly have their place in harmony. Here is an example of the C minor 7 flat 5 chord. We're going to start on C as the root note, so it's C minor 7 flat 5. We have C as the root note, E flat is the minor third, G flat is the flattened 5th, and B flat is the minor 7th. So to construct that using counting your half steps, remember we count up 3 half steps from the root note, and then we count up another 3 half steps from there to get to our flattened 5th, 1, 2, 3, and then we count another 4 half steps to get to our minor 7th, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's our whole C minor 7 flat 5 chord. Now we're going to go on to the next part of this tutorial where we're going to be looking at the chord symbols that we typically use for 7th chords.